Good day, family. This is video number 10 in our series on discipline. Today, I want to talk with you about where spiritual significance is really found. Many people assume spiritual significance shows up in big moments, big decisions, big sacrifices, big steps of faith. But Scripture consistently points us in a different direction. God does some of his most important work through small, faithful obedience, the kind that rarely gets noticed, applauded, or even celebrated. Can I begin with a core truth? Faithfulness is rarely dramatic. Most of the Christian life is lived in ordinary moments, routine decisions, quiet obedience, repeated choices that seem small at the time. What feels small to us is often formational to God. Here's a scriptural truth that you and I should consider. Faithful in little suggests faithful in much. Jesus says it this way, Luke 16 and verse 10, one who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. And one who's dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. And that statement redefines significance. God does not separate character from scale. He sees faithfulness in small things as preparation for greater responsibility. The way you and I live, the way we live in unseen moments shapes who we become. So why do we underestimate small obedience? We underestimate it because it feels too ordinary. It doesn't feel heroic. It doesn't feel impressive. And it often does feel repetitive. But Scripture shows us that God values consistency over visibility. The habits we repeat quietly shapes our hearts far more than occasional bold acts. Remember what Paul says, because Paul reinforces this in 1 Corinthians 4 and verse 2, when he says, moreover then, a steward, it is required of stewards that they be found faithful. Notice what Paul does not say. He doesn't say that stewards must be successful. He doesn't say they must be celebrated. He says they must be faithful. And faithfulness is the standard God consistently uses. Let's consider how small faithfulness actually forms us. Because small faithfulness trains our desires, it shapes our habits, it strengthens our integrity. Things such as daily prayer, regular Bible reading, consistent Bible study, choosing honesty, practicing patience, all of these acts and actions don't feel powerful in the moment, but over time, they shape a life. Paul reminds you and I in Galatians 6 and verse 9, let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not, if we don't give up. The harvest is connected not to intensity, but to perseverance. Faithfulness that feels unnoticed today often bears fruit tomorrow, later in life. Consider this with me by way of a word of application. Don't despise small obedience. No, show up, stay steady, be faithful right where you are. God often entrusts greater things to those who honor him in the ordinary. What you do consistently matters far more than what you do occasionally. God builds strong lives through quiet obedience. Faithfulness in small things is never wasted. Now, what feels ordinary today may be shaping eternity. And this is what it means to be formed to fight. Thank you so much for spending time with me.